Matatus in Kenya provide transport services to millions of people daily and are essentially the backbone of transportation system in Nairobi. About 3.5 million people use Matatus daily in Nairobi city. Although Matatus provide a vital role in commuter services, they are notorious for very loud music. The graffiti, speeding, and shattering music have become synonymous with Nairobi Matatus. Some people even say if you need a daylight disco on wheels, get on buses en route to Rongai or Ngong. Music are sounds that are arranged in a way that is pleasant or exciting to listen to. People sing music or play it on instruments. There are different types of music ranging from rock to pop. Most people like and enjoy music. However, when music is too loud, it can be harmful to our human health. To give us a full understanding of sound and how it generally affects us, we spoke to Father Joseph Karamaza, a lecturer of sounds at Tangaza University College, and Dr. Elaine Yuko, an ENT specialist who runs a clinic at Afya Center.
Sound is very important in life. Without sound, we will not be living. In fact, one experience of those people entering for the first time in a studio that is soundproof is a loss of a place. They don't realize where they are because there is no return to the ear of our sound. However, sound does not have to be loud. We have a very, depending on the person, especially young people can hear very, very low sounds, and they are fine. Instead, high sounds at any age is dangerous. First of all, it gives pain to the ear, but also it ruins the ability to hear it. The point is, when the sound is too high and you start feeling really pain in the ear or uncomfortable, that is already damaging your hearing. The other thing is that in Matatu often they overdo the bass sound, which is that boom, 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 and that creates a sense of anxiety of people. And in fact, when you are in a Matatu with this kind of sound, you realize that you are restless. You would like to go away. And instead of calling for people, giving a signal that this is friendly to you, well, actually what they do is to tell people don't come here.
Okay, maybe if we start by how sound enters our ear, basically, in the most basic terms, it collects through the external part of our ear, the one we call the pinna, goes into the tube inside the ear, then there's a thin membrane called the eardrum, and behind the eardrum, there are these small bones, as I had showed you before. There are these small bones that they transmit the waves. It hits the eardrum, it shakes like, you know, the Chinese gong that when you shake it and then it vibrates, then it transmits that vibrations to the small bones of the ear, which magnify this sound. And then from the small bones of the ear, the sound now is altered and into electric energy. I won't go into details of that, but into electric energy, and then it goes into the brain. So, and then in the inner ear also is where our balance in our body is maintained. That's why when you are a child and someone turned you a lot, you got dizzy. So when there's a very loud sound, the damage that can occur at different levels. You can get the damage occurring at the level of the eardrum, or you can get it occurring at the level of the small bones of the ear, or up to the brain. So this is the outer part of your ear, the pinna, this one here. And so sound, it collects the sound goes into the ear and hits the eardrum. This is what is called the tympanic membrane, the eardrum. And the eardrum vibrates, and when it vibrates, it transmits that vibration to these small bones. There are 3 bones here, these small bones of the ear. And now that energy, the mechanical energy, will go into the inner parts of the ear, and it's going to be converted now to the electrical energy, sent to the nerve, through the nerve, and then it will go to the brain, where now you recognize something as actual sound.
Hello, baby, can you come over? Just rest your foot on the shoulder. And make me listen some Anita Baker. Make love to me, wake up in your bar. Girl, you're all I need, and I'm always missing you, missing.
There are many studies done about that, especially on youth who go, for instance, on for dancing and concerts. At the end of one night of this pounding of strong music, they are unable to hear normally. And if this is sustained for a long time, they might damage the ear forever.
The thing is, with the exposure, some exposures are reversible. In terms of if I'm exposed for a short time period, then my body has a chance of healing. So you, unlike the person who works in that Matatus, so you might be exposed to it for 3 hours, but maybe you will make an effort not to be exposed again. But somebody who is exposed to that more regularly, it's a cumulative effect. The more you expose, the more damage that happens. The more you expose, the more damage that happens. And this damage also is worse for some people more than others. Of course, the very small children, the babies, their ears are still very delicate. People who already have, if you had maybe ear infections or other ear issues, you had trauma to the ear.
To even worsen it.
It will worsen it if you've been on some medication already that is already making your hearing bad, like anti-TBs, some drugs for diabetes, some drugs for high blood pressure. Then there's a surgery we do where we take what we call a graft from another part of your body, it's usually around the ear, and cover the whole and hope that this will create a new eardrum. It doesn't have 100% success rate.
Yeah, and how cheap or how affordable is that?
That is a bit more expensive, and as you continue more towards the inside of the ear, if it's the eardrum is more easy to fix. If it's the small bones of the ear, that now becomes even more difficult, because the small bones of the ear, maybe you might need a prosthesis, or it might not be something that can be fixed. It might not be a reversible problem. So up to the level of the small bones, that can be fixed surgically if the problem was dislocation or eardrum being ruptured. Where you can have reduced hearing, of course, if you have a problem out there, you'll have some reduced hearing. If you have anything obstructed there, you could have reduced hearing. But the one that will affect hearing loss, the noise-induced hearing loss could be if I have very, very loud sound and this moves very fast and vibrates the eardrum at a very, very high velocity, like with very, very high sounds or sharp sounds, you can perforate, you can rupture the eardrum can shake so much that it just ruptures there. And then when it ruptures, that means, since you see it's connected to the small bones, then that means it's not able to transmit the sound very well, the mechanical energy, converting it into the electrical energy that will go into the brain. So you can either damage at the eardrum or damage at the small bones called the ossicles. This, if you damage here, sometimes if you have a perforation, you can do a surgical procedure and fix that. And also here you can get prosthesis and kind of replace them, or replace the small bones to where they were supposed to be if they were displaced or dislocated. But damage that occurs after the small bones into the inner areas of the ear, what we call the cochlea and the nerve of the ear, that tends to be irreversible. Sometimes maybe what we can do here is there are people who have, because when we use hearing aids, it can either be inserted into the ear canal, or you can have what we call a cochlear implant that's put surgically and it's inserted deep into the ear, and it now collects the sound and takes it straight to the ear, but that's a very expensive procedure. But the other problems, most of the time, we do need to recommend for them things like hearing aids. And hearing aids are not recommended for everybody. Most of the time, people with mild hearing loss are not given hearing aids. It's most of the time it's moderate and severe, because with mild hearing loss, we tend to do what I call lifestyle and behavioral changes. Like I'll tell you to increase the volume on the TV, tell people to talk facing you, things like that, with mild hearing loss. And that, but if it's more of the moderate and severe hearing loss, then hearing aids are recommended. And hearing aids, the prices vary, but the hearing aids are generally very expensive. You see that the external, the cheapest, the subsidized one, just one side is 20,000. Yeah, Kenyan shillings. And there's one that you put, the ones that you're not able to see that are inside the canal, some go for $1,000 and more one side.
Every girl in a stand for some wine, but me love all the girls in my wine. Back it up.
Sort of has music. So why would you prefer such Matatus?
I prefer such Matatus because basically music is like food to the soul. So like all that idle in a Matatus, you don't have to respond to your phone messages or anything. You can just sit back and relax to the music in a Matatus.
Okay, so you like it so loud or medium or how?
Not really loud music. Actually, I prefer blues and R&B. It's slow and kind.
Okay, so you're quite selective on the type of Matatus you meditate.
In Kenya there are laws and there is they call an authority, NEMA, that is in charge of making these laws applied. Unfortunately, there is a culture of noise and a Matatu culture of lawlessness, which makes it more difficult to apply. But there are laws about the level of sound.
Okay, now then legislation which has been there but has it doesn't seem to be, we are not so sure if there's actual legislation that says that the loud music should be banned, because on and off we see they're arrested and then they're released, and we're not so sure what the legislation is, but I think ultimately the other way to go is legislation. I can't tell you to sit in the Matatu with earmuffs, you look a bit strange, but if the worst comes to the worst, you do that. You reduce your exposure. So what I have learned is if the Matatu is too loud, it reaches a point where I'm not able to stand it and I will get off, because there are some people who are in some jobs, like the people who work in contact centers, the phone contact centers that have really come up now in Kenya, and therefore they already have some of these problems of being exposed to noise the whole day. Then you add this, so there are people who are forced to them. They tell me they have to get off the Matatu. Then they tell me that when it's too loud, they actually get off the Matatu. But for me, sometimes I've done that. Sometimes it's raining and you're tired, and you also can't sit like this. I don't know now what I would say there, but if I think the best thing is if several people in the Matatu say that please reduce the noise, the music, the volume of the music, then it will happen, because it's happened the same way for people driving too fast. If you tell, because if you keep quiet, nothing is going to happen. But if you speak out, something will change, because this is not like a disco where when I went to the club it was my choice. I actually went, I knew there was going to be loud music, so I can't arrive in the club and tell them I will lower the music. But if this is a matter to public transport, I do not have control over this. So I think as Kenyans, the first thing we should do is to speak out. The first thing is education, because if even the driver and the tout are educated on the dangers of this, then even them they will be more willing to change, because you can't just you have to educate someone before you reprimand them. Then I think the next step is for Kenyans to speak out and say that I don't want this.
First of all is to keep the sound as quiet as possible. We do not need high sounds. And the other thing is to use also to get used to become used to the silence. I see that in Kenya, for instance, many people suffer silence. You go to a family, the radio is on, television is on, music is on, and it is instead much better once in a while to be without any other sound than the natural sound that surrounds us. That helps us to remember also that we are in relationship with the reality. Sounds that come from outside not always help us.